Hello and welcome to Newsfeed, your daily dose of what people are talking about online, from news stories to what's trending. Now, China has begun large-scale military drills around Taiwan in reaction to Nancy Pelosi's visit to the island. Ballistic missiles have been fired into the waters off the self-ruled island that China claims and says is a breakaway province that it's ready to retake by force. Taiwan has activated its defense systems in response to the live-fire drills, saying it's preparing for war without seeking war. Taipei says Chinese Navy ships and Air Force planes briefly crossed the median line, the informal line dividing territorial waters and airspace, before being pushed back by Taiwan's army. The U.S. Navy is sending an aircraft carrier and a strike group towards the island as part of what it calls routine patrols in support of a free and open Indo-Pacific. Taiwan says the drills not only violate its territory, but also UN rules and amount to a blockade of its air and sea. The Chinese exercises are being carried out in 6 areas around Taiwan, and warnings have been issued for all ships and aircraft to avoid those zones.
While most of these drills will take place in international waters, some of them are close to Taiwan's major ports and overlap with what Taiwan claims as its own waters. This means that civilian and commercial shipping and flights could be interrupted. Flyovers are expected over Taiwan by China as well, and the proximity of these drills to Taiwan is really what's raising concerns, because this is nicknamed gray zone warfare, where purposeful drills could lead to accidents with civilians or even local military officials. China also Wednesday announced bans on imports of Taiwanese citrus and other food, now claiming there's excessive pesticide residue and there's COVID-19 in the shipments themselves. Now, despite officially adhering to the One China policy that acknowledges but does not endorse Taiwan as a country, Nancy Pelosi further upset China when she implied Taiwan was a country, implying we could learn from them in, quote, how we advance respect for all the people in our countries as we go forward. Yikes.
There's been a lot of backlash online towards Nancy Pelosi. Many netizens say the U.S. House Speaker was reckless in going ahead with a visit to Taiwan against President Joe Biden's wishes. She's been accused of poking the bear, as Beijing has threatened serious consequences if she went ahead with the visit. Bloomberg's White House correspondent Jenny Leonard says that a lot of effort was made in trying to convince Pelosi not to go. But the more the White House weighed in, the more she dug in. Leonard says that Pelosi used the trip as a career capstone. And another Bloomberg journalist, Samson Ellis, gave this sarcastic analysis, joking that Pelosi chose to travel to Taiwan to enjoy the beauty of Taipei in August. Meanwhile, netizens on TikTok didn't hold back in their criticism of Pelosi.
You keep poking the bear, you poke, and your stupidity and your arrogance and your downright disrespect will lead to a conflict.
Finally have an explanation for Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan.
America's determination to preserve democracy around the world.
Okay, so why didn't Nancy Pelosi visit Catalonia when Spain was brutally suppressing their independence movement? Why doesn't Nancy Pelosi speak out against U.S. involvement in coups against elected governments all over the world? Come to think of it, Nancy Pelosi's only job as an elected representative is to represent the interests of her constituents in the 12th Congressional District in California. Were they demanding that she visit Taiwan? Why isn't Nancy Pelosi constantly flying around the earth, standing up to governments that fail to enact the will of their people?
On Thursday, Lebanon marks a grim anniversary. It's been 2 years since a blast at Beirut's port killed more than 200 people. My colleague Imogen Kimber visited the silos that collapsed and tells us how the day is being remembered.
It's the 2-year anniversary of the massive explosion that took place in the Beirut port. The devastating blast damaged half the city. It injured over 7,000 people and killed 218. With very little justice coming out of the investigation and incredibly painful memories, this is a really difficult day for many people in Beirut and all across Lebanon. People have taken to social media to share their feelings. Nada Durgam writes, time stopped 2 years ago. Nothing ever felt the same since the Beirut blast. We all had to come to terms with the people that we've become, with the parts of us that died on August 4th, 2020. It hurts to think that this never should have happened. Never. And Luna Safwan writes, triggering in so many ways. As we approach the 2nd anniversary of the Beirut blast that almost killed us all and injured many others, here we are witnessing the partial collapse of the grain silos. She refers to these massive silos that were damaged in the blast and have become part of the evidence, but also for many have become part of a collective memory. Someone else wrote, words simply fail. because it's so difficult to watch them falling into the sea just days before the anniversary of the blast. For others, they're still reeling with the effects of this devastating blast, with damaged buildings, injuries, and the loss of loved ones.
Far-right conspiracy theorist Alex Jones has finally admitted that the 2012 Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting is 100% real. Now, his confession came during a defamation trial 10 years after the massacre. He'd previously claimed on his radio show InfoWars that the shooting was a hoax to pass more gun control laws. He even went so far as to claim that the parents of the killed children were actors. Those parents took him to court and are seeking as much as $150 million for suffering years of harassment.
I wanted to tell you to your face because I wanted you to know that I am a mother first and foremost, and I know that you're a father. And my son existed. You're still on your show today trying to say that I'm implying that I'm an actress, that I'm deep state. You have this week. And I don't understand.
When it's stated that Jesse's was fake, that is an indication that he didn't exist and he didn't live. He did live. I was blessed with him for 6.5 years.
And while Alex Jones has now admitted some of his past statements about Sandy Hook were false, he may have been caught lying during his testimony. The conspiracy theorist had explicitly claimed that there were no text messages on his phone regarding the massacre. But his lawyers made a crucial mistake, which could prove that Jones is guilty of perjury.
Did you know that 12 days ago, your attorneys messed up and sent me an entire digital copy of your entire cell phone with every text message you've sent for the past 2 years, and when informed, did not take any steps to identify it as privileged or protect it in any way. And as of 2 days ago, it fell free and clear into my possession. And that is how I know you lied to me when you said you didn't have text messages about Sandy Hook.
More extreme temperatures are coming to Europe just weeks after breaking records. And it looks like the summer is only going to get hotter. Meteorologist Scott Duncan shared a graphic of how hot it's been in the last few days. You can just see the brutal heat in the southwestern part of the continent. Spain and Portugal are experiencing their driest climate in over 1,000 years. Meanwhile, France is on high alert for drought with water restrictions in place. The Dutch government also declared a water shortage on Wednesday. The European Commission recently released a report stating nearly half of Europe is at risk of drought. The thing is, most European cities are simply not built for extreme heat. Journalist Aito Hernandez Morales explained why in a Twitter thread. One of the main reasons is because many major cities are built on swampy marshes. The humidity intensifies the heat, but that's not the only reason.
Heatwaves can occur with or without high humidity, and is even more dangerous when the humidity is high. They can strongly impact lives of millions of people, cause severe health issues like strokes and lung problems, impact the harvest and the quality of drinking water. Heatwaves in the cities can be more dreadful than in rural areas. It's because of the lack of greenery. To help people survive heatwaves easier, we should think about improving our living areas. Make them greener.
In addition to all of that, now Europeans are preparing for a winter energy crisis brought on by Russia's attack on Ukraine. Now, to combat it, many countries are imposing strict rules. Berlin has pledged to cut its energy consumption by 10%. The city has stopped lighting up landmarks in the evenings, plunging the likes of the Brandenburg Gate into darkness. Spain has also switched off the spotlights, and they've banned businesses from running their air conditioning below 27 degrees this summer. Italy and Greece have also introduced a 27-degree cap on aircon usage, and France has started fining companies $152 if they leave air conditioning on while windows or doors are open. All right, on to what's trending now. The UK Parliament has shut down its TikTok account just 1 week after it was launched. Now, while the account posted fairly tame content, MPs and peers raised concerns about the risk of its data being passed on to the Chinese government. TikTok is owned by the Chinese company ByteDance, which denies it's being controlled by Beijing. Earlier this week, lawmakers in New Zealand were also warned not to use the app on parliamentary phones or devices over similar security fears. Now, another day, another massive crypto hack. This time, the target was the Solana ecosystem. The full scale of the attack isn't yet clear, but around 8,000 wallets have been affected, totaling upwards of $5 million in stolen tokens. According to initial investigations by Solana, private key information from a mobile wallet app was inadvertently transmitted to a third party. But the company stressed there's no evidence the Solana protocol was compromised. The breach comes just a day after another crypto project, Nomad, lost almost $200 million in another hack. Combined with several other major losses and scandals this year, some people are feeling pretty down on the crypto space as a whole. One user said that in order for cryptocurrencies to succeed, all the victims from this week's hacks should be compensated for their losses in order to rebuild trust in the industry. Now, sheep farmers in a remote part of southern Australia got an unexpected surprise in their field that's literally out of this world. Turns out this large charred piece of metal found jutting out of the ground is from a SpaceX mission last year. Astrophysicist Dr. Brad Tucker went out to examine the debris. He says it's part of a trunk piece jettisoned by the Crew 1 capsule when it re-entered Earth's atmosphere. Airbnb has been forced to apologize for allowing an 1830s slave cabin in Mississippi to be listed on its site. Located on the Panther Burn Plantation, the property once housed 80 enslaved people. New Orleans lawyer Winton Yates says even though the listing has now been taken down, it shows how the history of slavery in the U.S. is still being denied and undermined.
How is this okay in somebody's mind to rent this out, a place where human beings were kept as slaves? Rent this out as a bed and breakfast. Here it is. That's it right there, the slave quarters next to the big house. It's in Greenville, Mississippi. That's the host, Brad, the super host. But what really kills me is reviews. Memorable. Highly recommend watching the sunset. We stayed in the sharecropper cabin and ate in the main house. Enjoyed everything about our stay. The cottage, the history, the tour, the breakfast, and all was great. We stayed in the cabin and it was historic but elegant. A slave cabin is elegant. Maybe you're thinking, okay, maybe this will give people insight on how enslaved people had to live, their living conditions. No, not at all. Clawfoot tub, running water, tile, nice lighting fixtures, water, towels, dresser. The history of slavery in this country is constantly denied, and now it's being mocked by being turned into a luxurious vacation spot.
Now we move on to some environmental stories from around the world. A clip of Gordon Ramsay enraging vegans everywhere isn't the most conventional way of beginning an environment segment, so just bear with me.
Yummy, yum, 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 yum. Which one's going in the oven first?
The Michelin-star British chef posted this video on TikTok where he's picking out a lamb to slaughter, and many say the video is insensitive as he climbs into the pen to tell the animals, "I'm going to eat you." Although the caption says no animals were cooked in the making of the video, the animal rights group PETA says Ramsay's children should disown him over it. The celebrity chef once said he was allergic to vegans, but he recently made a plant-based version of his famous beef Wellington dish. Meanwhile, a group of scientists have been running an online project called Birds and Debris. They've discovered birds tangled in plastic rubbish on every continent except Antarctica. The project encourages people all around the world to send in photographs of birds ensnared in trash. And the scientists say face masks are the biggest problem. The elastic cords get stuck to the animals, and some birds even nest in the waste piles. The researchers want stricter policies on waste from lawmakers.
One of the researchers who wrote the report who said that it's becoming a real problem because people use the PPE once and then dispose of it in the environment. She thought it was ironic that the life-saving equipment that was helping us through the pandemic was damaging the lives of wildlife.
And here's some more info on how plastics are damaging the environment.
If plastics were a country, it'd be the 5th largest emitter of greenhouse gases behind China, the United States, India, and Russia. Amazon generated enough estimated plastic in 2020 alone to circle the Earth 600 times in the form of plastic air pillows. A 2019 study estimated that we're consuming a whole credit card's worth of plastic each week at least. If nothing changes, the amount of plastic entering our oceans is projected to triple by 2040.
But it's not all doom and gloom. Thankfully, good things also happen. An environmental nonprofit collected around 44,000 kilograms of debris from Hawaiian reefs. The marine cleanup took 27 days. They cleaned up one of the largest marine conservation areas in the world. One of the biggest problems are ghost nets, which are large tangled masses of lost or discarded fishing nets. Apparently, they're also a serious hazard for the coral colonies and other reef inhabitants. And some more good news about reefs. The Australian Institute of Marine Sciences annual report shows that 2/3 of the Great Barrier Reef showed the highest coral cover in decades. The amount of hard coral grew to record highs in the northern and central regions. But before you start celebrating, the scientists warn that mass coral bleaching is getting more frequent every year. However, the Institute remarked that the Great Barrier Reef is still a very resilient system, and when given the chance, there is clearly a strong possibility it will revive itself.
And we're really in uncharted waters when it comes to the effects of the bleaching and what it means moving forward. But as of today, you know, it's still a fantastic place, it's still vibrant, and it's still kicking, and it really gives us hope.
All right, so some hope on the horizon. And that brings us to the end of today's newsfeed. You can find this show on our YouTube channel, and do subscribe, share your thoughts and ideas in the comments. See you same time tomorrow.